So there's just different things on this form, just outside of the sunband, the yellow sunband. You'll see the I Ching hexagrams are put in for the signs of the zodiac, from the greatest brightness in Gemini to the greatest darkness. The 6 solid lines in Gemini, 6 broken lines in Sagittarius. So it has the I Ching in there. So it's accessing a zodiac of 64 divisions as it goes around. So it was just so that you could go from one database to the next, from the signs of the zodiac to the I Ching to the houses, see where the planets were. And it was visually, you could see the signs right away, and the houses, you could see here. They don't see the shading very well, but the ascendants across there on these charts, the color charts, they were fixed with the I Ching, and they're printed out. So Aries was always in the left, the ascendant would spin around. So in here, Aquarius, this was an earlier chart. This isn't the these were earlier chart forms. The date was corrected later. The time was corrected later on. So there's a few charts for his. So first, these are earlier charts. I just noticed. Okay, but both these then in the 70s and 80s. Data collection has become much more refined and evolved since then. Still mistakes around, still duplications. But here, the ascendant would be Aquarius, but it's in late Aquarius, when really its ascendant is in early Aquarius. But you can see the shaded half. And then the aspects on this chart were colored. And this was a special system of coloring that I ran into that creates a mandala. On the charts, we'll see it as one of the options on the chart forms today. But each planet takes a sign. Like if you took the sun in Leo, it takes a Leo, and puts a yellow beam out to each other planet. So a yellow beam is coming from Leo. And then if we took Saturn in Aquarius as purple, so the purple in Aquarius would send up a purple beam out to each other planet, to each of the other planets. And every planet would have 2 colors. So the Sun-Saturn planet aspect would be purple-yellow. Like in opposition, it'd be purple-yellow, but it has a definite feel, different quality. It's kind of, the colors are the signs. So there's kind of a mixture of Aquarius, Leo, and the yellow-purple reinforces that. But their oppositions between other signs are different colors totally. So there's different moods and feelings to the aspects. Okay. Yeah, I had these charts, took 2 or 3 hours to do, start to finish. And I probably did about I don't know, 500 to 1,000 of them. And this was in my beginning days. I was really inspired with astrology. I'm still very inspired by astrology, but I really saw the color. The symbols down below were colored based on the chart too. On the right, there was a turtle. This is the library. I was running an IEO Research Center. So this logo of the turtle, with the circles being the orbits of the planets. In the center of this 8-pointed star was like A's, 8 A's. In the center of that was 8 I's, and the orbits was the O. So it was saying IAO. It was the logo for the organization. And each foot was a fixed sign of the zodiac of the turtle. The head was the Aries, the tail was the Libra. And it was colored in from based on, like, the sun was in the center, the yellow, the purple on the points of the star was for the Earth being, it's a heliocentric view, the Earth being in Aquarius. Then you have Mercury and Venus in Cancer. Then you have the Mars, and each of the planets would have their coloring according to the sign they're in. So it was another little cut mandala colored in. Yeah, an extra 10, 15 minutes to color in. By the time I'd done the 2 or 3 hours, it didn't matter. It had to be done nicely. And this was another symbol of, was sort of my logo or symbol that I did the chart. There was a few of us doing the color charts, and we all had different logos on it. So this was mine. I had the yellow and the purple for the Aquarius, Leo Aquarius. Would have been reversed for the Southern Hemisphere. Had the orange for the moon. Had the ascendant was colored, and the day I did the chart was colored in it too. So there's just codes. Everything was coded in color. It was a whole different way of astrology. but I couldn't print those then. Even do a book of 100 pages would have cost like $25,000, and I had to get 5,000 of them made to be able to do it. It was not feasible. So this work that I did in the 70s was only become valid this century as the web has developed and digital pictures could be put up and used without having to print them out. So along the way, that's a lot of work to do for every chart. I did it for the first bunch of clients that I did. First 50 or 100 clients I did, I would have done these charts. But then it became too tedious and I became more in demand or had more charts to do. So I devised a black and white chart that had, on this black and white chart, I don't know, maybe it's bigger now, we'll just have to leave it like this. It has the I Ching hexagrams, it has the signs of the zodiac, although the symbols are the funny, I made these symbols up to represent the tropical zodiac and I used the other symbols for the sidereal. I've since changed it, it's too radical. So, but it was just helping clarify me at the time. But each sign of the zodiac is there with the hexagrams it's in, and there's a 2-degree grids on this chart wheel. This is the beginning of a new type of chart form. It has 2-degree grids. We talked about this before, but on the inside, you had the tropical signs of the zodiac. On the outside grid, you had the sidereal signs of the zodiac mentioned, and then you had the actual constellations and the actual sizes put around it. So they would be in the chart. So you put the planets in, and once you see a planet in a sign in a house, well, and most of the systems are in the same houses. Certainly in the Vedic and the tropical, the houses are the same. It's only switching by signs, and because of the sign switch, the rulership switch and the constellation switch, so there's different considerations of what influences are affected it. So this was a chart for me, because I was into the circles and the mandalas, I made the data go in on circles, so it wasn't like just a straight computer generated thing. So I use these for thousands of charts, and that was the next, that's 1982. And somewhere along here, in 84, I decided I wanted to make a chart form that had the galaxy, the major stars, the galaxies, the black holes, the nebulas, and the different pulsars, different things around here. And I made a chart that had those on it just to watch them. So I used that for a number of years, but I basically stayed more often than not, I stayed with the previous chart with the signs and the constellations. When we came into the 21st century, technology has changed. Until 21st, it was very difficult. It took a long time from having 77, from having the computer to get a circular chart form with actual degrees put in that they look like a circle, looked like it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s you could do that. Now every graphics program has it all set up, but it took a long time to get the programming done to get the actual degrees around a circle and be able to work with them. So this is in 2009, wanting to get I always wanted to use the color, like to use the color, you know, and so from the previous charts, these ones I would use the color charts for special gifts and for special mandalas and make them as a print, and so they would be framed and set up. The other ones were more practical ones, similar to the way we do it in RASA. You know, just it has the chart forms. It has the main squares and oppositions in red, blues, trines, sextiles, green. Just going back, but when we went forward, the color was still there. So I wanted to work in color, and I still would do the odd color one in colored pencil. But then I ran across a friend of mine, Vic Lee, lives in Winnipeg now, but he was a specialist in AutoCAD. Wasn't an astrologer, but he was a specialist in AutoCAD. And I was telling my problems. I'm trying to figure out how to get this computer. I don't know. And he says, he saw it. He says, I see how you do it. So he using AutoCAD, he made different layers, and we rotated the different levels, and we came up with this chart form. We spent a few months, 2 or 3 months working together pretty intensely to get this, all the programming developed. This allowed, I still had to hand enter the planets and then hand draw the aspects. But just having the constellations and the double degree grid and the signs of the zodiac and the I Ching and everything put in there, the program would draw the planets in, but I had to enter the degree positions of the planets, one another, to be able to put them, to rotate them into place. But this is the first of the more modern charts that allowed the color to come in. And I've changed a little bit. I didn't put all the bands for all the different planets, and I took that out. You just saw the signs. There is the band for the sun, so you can see immediately this is a yellow Leo sun. Then the ones I'm using now are I still use black and white ones for my consultations, or just moderately colored ones. But the idea is these were developed using Photoshop. I finally took the things from AutoCAD and redrew them and remade everything and made it done in Photoshop. And that took a long time. But the point in this is that, sorry, I just gotta fix a couple of things here. Okay, yeah, so this is the 21st century, what I call a 21st century chart. All of a sudden, you don't have just these 12 houses written down in black and white with planets written. You have a lot more information accessible. For a lot of people who are used to using other charts, they look at, oh, there's too much information, I can't work with this, there's too much stuff to look at, I can't work with it. That would be a general factor. But a lot of people who are, let's see, a lot of people would find, if they looked with binoculars to look at the stars or whatever, it would be interesting to look with a telescope. But boy, each modern telescope requires a lot more fidgety, a lot more specifics to get this extra detail. Now, I have a nice Celestron 8 telescope, but to me it's nice. Now it's so dated because you can't take pictures with it. Well, you can. You have to take the lens off and take the camera lens off and put them on and take the picture and hold. Make sure the motor is working properly, the cavalier is moving to collect the light on the negative. Now it's all digital. It's like a magical world of the technology and the information you get about stars and planets and things you're observing. It's quite incredible. So it's a different world. But once you've seen that detail, you don't normally go back to think of looking at the stars with binoculars unless it's the only thing you got. No, the same way with cars. Everything's computerized now. Even you go to check it up, you got to get it computerized. You got to get a computer check scan on it and see what's wrong. Whoa, you know, like it's not that long ago. Well, I guess it is that long ago. It doesn't seem that long ago to me, where cars were just very simple. They didn't have computers in it. They were easier to fix and run. So my point is, you know, you can have a bread and butter knife or you can have a scalpel, and they both are cutting, but they each have different degrees of efficiency that they can do it. The more accurate you get, the more information you get, the more training there is to use the tool. So that's how I think of the charts. They evolved, and for me, I wanted to see it. I had a visual need to be able to, even with the first charts, I didn't want to just have the houses there. I want to be able to, if you took a chart with just the 12 houses and the planets were written in it, when you went out to look at the sky, you wouldn't see the planets where they would be because the houses didn't have the signs and you wouldn't see it. So having the degrees was necessary to be able to look at the chart and then go out and look at where the planets would be and be able to see, do the chart from and go out and you could see where they would be. That was, to me, an incredible breakthrough. It was really exciting. So these charts came from wanting to be able to see it, want to be able to visualize it, want to be able to work with the subtleties and the differences and the extra information from the mandalas, from the visualization of a chart. I mean, it takes a lot of time to develop your astronomical insight and your visualization to be able to see a concept and be able to have a visualization of how it works with how a lot of astrology factors are actually astronomical, and to have that sense of what the astronomical is.